April embodies a paradox, a season that's celebrated for renewal, yet spring is really a season of growing that is born of messy, imperfect life transitions. We tend to view spring as a perfect time. The earth is not really starting, though. It's healing. There are branches to pick up, leaves to rake, plants to cultivate. It is muddy and a temperamental time. The beauty comes from a long, hard end beginning. We often forget that for the bud to burst, the husk of the seed must literally break apart. This is the first end beginning. The seed doesn't die so much as it outgrows its container. So even at the end of our lives, perhaps we are simply seeds whose husks have become too small for the life pulsing inside of us. For the river to flow, the ice must vanish. Every hello from a tulip is preceded by a goodbye from the bulb. It was the Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca the Younger, not the 1990s band Semisonic, that first recorded this rhythm long ago, noting that from every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. He saw that life is not a series of disconnected events, but a continuous chain of transitions. This circular view of life has inspired generations of poets and painters and songwriters. Centuries later, T.S. Eliot echoed it in his poem, Little Gidding. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time through the unknown remembered gate. The unknown remembered gate is where we must linger. It suggests that our final end is also a return. When we talk about the end of life, perhaps it isn't a plunge into the dark, but a walk through a gate that we somehow already recognize. A home we've forgotten, but we've always known. Recognizing the unknown remembered is also the ultimate beginner's mind. We often describe life as a linear road from point A to point B. From this perspective, a return to point A is by definition backtracking, going backward, regressing, not progressing, and we feel we've failed. I'm asking you to consider a shift away from that linear view to a spiral perspective of growth over time. I've kept a journal since I was 16 years old, and reading old entries, I find haunting patterns, massive strides in confidence, and then steps forward in a linear perspective, followed by returns to the same self-doubt, followed and steps backwards. I keep repeating the same patterns I think I've broken. One in particular is nail biting. My mother told me I've bitten my nails since I was an infant. And I see it return and resurface when life is stressful. I look down at my hands and I feel shame. Why did I start biting again? Why am I back here? But if I look at it in a spiral way, it tells a different story. If life's path is a circle, you would pass the same spot again, and if life's a spiral, then you see those same spots again and again, but from different perspectives, different heights, different distances, different angles. Surely when I started biting my nails, it was PTSD from being traumatized as a child. I no longer feel that PTSD. So now it's a bad habit. But it's hard to break a bad habit. We return to the same patterns with new data, new scars, new wisdom, and we know the place for the first time because we are different. The late Thich Nhat Hanh offers wisdom. The most profound relief here. He used the metaphor of the wave and the water. When we face the end of a season of our life, we often identify only with the wave, as if it's over. We notice our height, our crest, our inevitable crash against the shore, and we fear the moment we will vanish. But the wave is just what the water is doing in one moment of time. Death is not the end of the wave. It is simply the movement the wave remembers. Then it becomes the ocean again. If we pause, as John Kabat-Zinn suggests, we realize the water of the soul is whole. The water is not broken by the wave's crash. We are starting a new adventure in the deep, where the storms of the surface can no longer reach us. So when we find ourselves at some familiar crossroads, wondering what Paul Gauguin asked in his painting, that's at the MFA, if you haven't seen it, and we sang in our hymn, "Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?" The question is more of a riddle and a mystery than a shame. Why am I here again? The question instead becomes, now what? Now what? Recently, my therapist suggested tapping, emotional freedom technique to help with my nail biting. Have any of you heard of tapping? Yeah. So tapping is like, okay, so if I find myself biting my nails, I can tap right here and say, I am good and okay even if I bite my nails. And I don't need to bite my nails to feel safe. And then I tap here and say the same thing, and I tap here to say the same thing, and then I tap here to say the same thing, and then I tap here, and then I tap here. This is a way to tell your nervous system you're safe. You don't need that old armor or that old habit anymore. It's a sort of now what for the body. And what my therapist was suggesting is that the pattern in my brain to bite my nails is so ingrained, I have to teach my brain I want to do something else. It's kind of a now what for my soul. Whenever spring comes, I always think of that jazz classic, "Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most." It's melancholy because we feel the pressure to be fixed, to be blooming, and we might still feel like a seed in the dark. But real change happens in the muddy dark, in the stops and starts, in the imperfectness. Real change is muddy and imperfect. Spring this year has got me feeling like a horse that never... I was really practicing this. I was going to do it. Spring this year has got me feeling like a horse that never left the post. I lie in my room staring up at the ceiling. Spring can really hang you up the most. All right, go listen to Ella Fitzgerald sing that song, or Sarah Vaughan, or Betty Carter. Spring does not apologize for the winter that has just ended. The bud does not have to feel guilty about having once been a seed. It doesn't look at the dirt and say, I should have grown faster. It simply responds to the light. As we look toward the end beginning of our own lives, let us lay down the burden of ever feeling like we have to be done or fixed or perfect. We are never done. We are an evolution. Whether it is the end of a habit, the end of a year, the end of a season, or the end of our time on this earth, recognizing the beauty in returning home changed and unchanged is what we're after. We are traveling through the gate, sometimes with bitten nails, sometimes with scarred hearts, but always moving to the next great adventure through the unknown, remembered gate. Let us begin again.
How can I keep smiling and singing? Good morning, dear ones.
Good morning.
Oh, what a great day it is today. For my poem, I picked an epigraph by Carl Simonton, one of my favorite quotes. In the face of uncertainty, there is nothing wrong with hope. My poem's called On the Edge of Possibility. It used to drive me crazy, not knowing what might happen next. For years, the thought of death stole my breath. Unable to wrap my belief around a someplace heaven where God is safely stashed, where the angels fluff their wings, tune up their harps, and St. Peter stands guard at the gate to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Then I was introduced to reincarnation. It set me daydreaming how that heaven might look. All the flowers would surely smell like freesia and gardenias. Every day, every single day, I would ride a torrent of words into the morning. Bert and Sylvia, those kind, plain-spoken Quakers, would be my parents. Grandma would be my firstborn. All my friends and families would have cameo roles. As though I could bargain with the universe to change and mold it with my wishful thinking. The truth is, I'm here. And then I won't be here. At least never to return to this exact same time, same place, on the same plane. I will be waiting. When the conditions are right, my everlasting energy will manifest again. Not knowing when no longer makes me fearful. I believe the next time around, like so many things, will be more wonderful than my fanciful notions could ever imagine.